I welcome you all again in this online course on fundamentals of power electronics. Today we are going to see what are the basics required to learn power electronics. So in this lecture today we are going to cover first what is the textbook required for power electronics, what are the basics required for power electronics, what are the different elements of power electronics, and then we go to introduction to switches, and at last we are going to see VI characteristics of an ideal switch. So first let's see what are the textbook required for power electronics. So I would suggest for an undergraduate electrical engineering student that is they should start with this power electronics book written by Dr. P.S. Bhimra. It's a very good book for a starter, those who are just new to power electronics. And because in undergraduate level, sometimes we require a very simple language and easy numericals and concepts that which we are able to grasp easily, then you should start with Dr. P.S. Bhimra. And once you are become a little bit familiar with the power electronics, then you can jump to much higher order book that is written by M.H. Rashid, Power Electronics. It is a very good book for the those who have once have gone through power electronics and then jump to Muhammad H. Rashid, and it will strengthen your concepts regarding power electronics further. And I would suggest for an undergraduate again that they should start with P.S. Bhimra, and then for higher level they could jump to Power Electronics book by Muhammad H. Rashid. And for an undergraduate student, only P.S. Bhimra would be suffice also. So no need to bother about that whether to jump to Power Electronics by Muhammad H. Rashid or not. But you can have only P.S. Bhimra book for Power Electronics. So let's see now what are the basics required for power electronics. Means if you are a student in electrical engineering, what basics you require. So first, network analysis is important. As you could see in your first year or second year, you have gone through several courses for network analysis. In network analysis, basically you require KVL, KCL, and the basic knowledge of the elements like R, L, and C. So you would require this only for network analysis, because in any power electronic circuit is a network of switches R, L, and C. So for the analytical purpose, you would require the knowledge of network analysis. Next, you would require knowledge of a little bit of mathematical background of differential equations. As you all know that when R and C are there in the circuit, differential equation comes into the picture. So for that, you would require only the basics of these differential equations, that how to solve them and what will be the final answer in terms of y or x. So you require a bit knowledge of differential equations. Next, Laplace transform. These two differential equation knowledge and Laplace transform is interchangeable, because if you know Laplace transform, you can convert any differential equation into an equivalent algebraic form. And after having taking the Laplace transform and then taking inverse Laplace transform, you could have your answer of that particular differential equation. So both are interchangeable to each other. If you know differential equation well, then no need to go for Laplace transform. But if you know Laplace transform, that is, it would be better that you would convert that differential equation into an equivalent algebraic form. Now let's see what are the elements of power electronics. Previously I have discussed when in the previous lecture you have gone through with the basic structure of power electronics, that is power electronic systems. You would have a power electronic circuit. Over here there will be a load, and on this side you would have sources, and a control circuitry is also required in between, that we have discussed previously. So what are these different sources are available? So you could have a AC source, you could have a DC source. Next, switches. Switches I am talking about here is not the mechanical switches. All these will be the electronic switches I am talking about. And in switches we will discuss only those are relevant to our course, like diode, BJT, IGBT, thyristor, GTO, triac, MOSFET. So these are the basic switches that we are going to encounter in our in power electronics course. And at last, the basic element like R and C knowledge, basically how they are working, what are the different mathematical background related to R, L and C, what are their equations, how do they work, what are their functioning. So basically you require a working of R, L and C. You should know about how do they work for a power electronics course. Now I'm going to see what are the switches involved in power electronics. So basically introduction to switches. So you are very well aware about these switches. You are very much familiar that you have in your home. These are mechanical switches where the operation is on and off. But like these are mechanical switches, you could turn on them at max in 1 second 5 to 6 times if you have a very good speed, but they are not will be used for the conversion of power or flow of electrical power, because these are mechanical switches. We require to turn on and turn off a switch around 1000 and sometimes 10,000 times in a second, which is not possible for these mechanical switches. So we require electronic switches that I'm talking about. You could see over here that an electronic switch, diode, MOSFET, BJT, IGBT, thyristor and many more. So the important concept comes out of this is that you could divide all these switches into two parts. One, you could say uncontrolled switches, and another one is controlled switches. Uncontrolled switches and control switches. Uncontrolled switches are those switches where turn on and turn off is not controlled. For example, diode. One diode will work only when it is forward bias. Means once anode voltage is greater than cathode voltage, diode will turn on and will conduct. So you could say diode is a uncontrolled device. But what are those controlled devices? Controlled devices are those devices where turn on and turn off can be controlled. Turn on and turn off can be controlled. For example, I will take example of IGBT. Once you will provide the gate current over here, the IGBT will work. Means there will be a flow of current from collector to emitter. And if you are not providing this gate current, the IGBT will not turn on and will not conduct. So you could say IGBT is a controlled switch. You could divide these control switches in two parts again. Controlled switches can be further divided in two parts. One, you could say fully controlled, and other one will be semi-controlled. So what do you mean this semi-controlled and fully controlled? Fully controlled are those switches where turn on and turn off both are controlled. Means once you provide the gate current, they will be turn on, and once you remove the gate current, they will turn off. So you could say those switches are fully controlled. For example, IGBT, BJT, MOSFET are controlled switches, whereas thyristor is fall in the category of semi-controlled, because thyristor will be turn on once you are providing a gate current on a relatively low voltage between anode and cathode. But if you remove the gate current, once the thyristor is turned on, it cannot be turned off. You have to turn off a thyristor forcefully by bringing down its current from anode to cathode below holding current. We are going to see their operation soon, and we will have a dedicated lecture for each device in the time to come. So you could say thyristor is a semi-controlled device. Thyristor is a semi controlled device. Now we are going to see VI characteristics of a ideal switch. All of you know that we can represent any power electronic switch by a simple notation, that is our switch. Means you can turn on like this, and you can open it, and you can say it as a turn off. So all the switches that we have discussed in the previous slide, diode, IGBT, thyristor, MOSFET and all that, if you consider them as ideal, then you could say they can be represented by this symbol over here. And it's very important to know what are their ideal characteristics. Open switch. So all of you know, when the switch is open, means whatever voltage is coming over here, it is blocking this voltage. Means no current can flow from this side to this side or this side to this side. So you could say that it is blocking the voltage, and once you have pressed it and turn it on, it will conduct and the current will flow in this direction. So you could say that when it is open, it is blocking the voltage, means some voltage is coming across it. But once you turn it off, the voltage across it becomes zero, because it will behave like a short circuit now. If you want to represent it by a graph, where on this axis I am having I, and on this axis I am having a voltage. So basically I am trying to draw the IV characteristics of a ideal switch. So as you all know, once it is open condition, means it is blocking the voltage, so no current is flowing. No current is flowing during this period. And once it is turned on, the voltage across it becomes zero. The voltage across it becomes zero, and it will conduct the current, which is limited by the load resistance. So these are the ideal switch of a ideal VI characteristics of an ideal switch. So with this we concluded this lecture now, and in the next lecture we are going to see what are the working of R, L and C and the basics required in much more depth. Thank you.